Hi, Mandy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you blog? Where are you from? How did you get started?
Sure. Well, my name's Mandy Knowles. I'm a registered dietitian for almost 10 years now, which is actually no, 12. So that's super scary, getting old. I'm currently in Atlanta, Georgia, but just recently moved here from Pennsylvania. So I'm loving the weather in January and February. And I blog on the Well Crafted Life. So it's wellcrafted.life. And on Facebook, and I'm really just getting started.
Awesome. And how did you get started with Well Crafted Life?
Um, so um, a little bit about my background is I used to work for a commercial weight loss company. I ran product development and innovation for them, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. Really, the reason I left was a move with my husband down here. But I've always wanted to own my own business. I've always wanted to work with people and have an impact on them that I could feel more closely than just, helping millions of people. I wanted to get to know people and really, get that connection. So that's kind of what inspired me to start the Well Crafted Life. And just a little bit about my personal history is I had a history of disordered eating. And so that kind of led me more on the intuitive eating and wanting to help women make peace with food, and really incorporating, mind, body, and soul, and really embracing who you are and letting go of perfectionism.
Uh, yes, I love
Yes.
that because all of us women try to be perfect all the time.
Yeah. Well, and it's not our fault, we have so many messages out there of, how to be a mom and how to be, a good career woman and how to do it all. But there's no room for error, and that's not real life. So,
So true. I love that. So what are some of your tips like for women for getting out of that mindset?
so I think I have like a three-pronged approach. I kind of said mind, body, and soul, but what I like to call it is embrace, revitalize, and elevate. So you really need to first embrace who you are and kind of just really set your intention and why you want, to be healthier. What do you want out of life? And really set that first, because that really sets the foundation for, living a healthy life. And then the revitalized part is really having a good foundation of nutrition and movement. So you don't have to be like some, super active person, but it's really finding things that you love to do, instead of like going to a boot camp that you dread every day because you know it's going to burn the most calories, So it's really about finding things that you enjoy doing. And then the elevate piece is really just putting those things into practice, and letting go of the perfectionism and surrounding yourself with people that motivate you and don't bring you down. So I think it's really just incorporating all those things for healthy living.
Yeah, those sound amazing. I know I'm a group fitness instructor and I also coach a lot of women myself, and perfectionism is the thing that causes them to give up. If they can't do it perfect, they just stop. And I'm like, well, no, nobody's perfect.
Right.
But like you said, there's all these messages in our society of like how we should be perfect and how we should be going to the gym and look a certain way every single day.
Right. And it's no wonder people are confused. I mean, there's just one day it's one tip to follow, the next day it's another tip, and new trend and everything like that. And it's like, how do you be perfect in that when everything's constantly changing? So I think we just really need to give ourselves a break a little bit.
Yeah, I always tell people they're the perfect is their perfect. There is no model for perfect other than who they are. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because they have to really look at who they are in the inside.
Yeah, that's the hard work.
Definitely. So, do you coach women one on one? How do you work with people now?
So right now, I'm working on creating kind of my flagship product. So I'm hoping to launch that in Q2, and it will be focused on those three, um, prongs of my whole philosophy, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't have it completely nailed down. I think it's going to be an online course, but I'm also toying around with the idea of creating a retreat as well. Um, so for me, I would love to get women together and just have fun, learn, grow with each other, and just really embrace who we are. So I don't know if that's going to be the first thing, but that's definitely a goal for me.
Awesome. It sounds like a great goal. I mean, you have all of the foundation set for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Good things to come.
Yeah, for sure. So you also talked about that you had a past with disordered eating. Is that what led you to becoming a registered dietitian to help others?
I think in a way, I think kind of how my life progressed, I guess, and kind of led me to this point is I was an elite athlete, elite swimmer when I was in high school. And when I went to college, I didn't do any sports and I ended up gaining 60 pounds.
Mm.
And I went from it's sad to say this, but I was never ridiculed for my weight or my body size because I was so active. And then when I gained the weight, I was made fun of, and I never really knew how to have good self-esteem when you're faced with something totally different. So I always loved cooking and food. Growing up, but I was never really knew that nutrition was a job you could have. And then once I had gained the weight, I became really interested in nutrition. I took a course and kind of just fell in love with it. But at the same time, I was battling my eating disorder while I was going through nutrition school, which is pretty common. A lot of people in the field do have disordered eating, and so I think as I struggled with that for almost 8 or 9 years, I guess, and really just realizing that that this is where I want to help people now, since I was able to overcome it myself, and really just let them make peace with food and just get away from all the dieting, and just understand that it's healthy living and healthy journey, and you don't have to be a certain size, and you really just need to embrace who you are and love yourself, because that's all you have.
Yeah, for sure. So if somebody was watching this video and they had disordered eating, what are some things you would tell them?
I think they just really need to give compassion to themselves and understand that, they're not alone, but they should ask for help, and they should go to somebody that they feel comfortable with talking to and working with, and that can guide them on the right path. Because again, with disordered eating, it's not a perfect journey, and you're going to have your ups and downs. So it's really important to be compassionate with yourself, but also know that there's people out there who can help you and can relate to what you're going through.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of the women that I work with, they specifically have issues with weight loss and binge eating. Binge eating
Mhm.
is a big issue for them because they don't feel like their self-worth, they don't feel worthy, and so they turn to food to fill that emotional void.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down, usually it's not about the food. Usually you have to uncover what it is really about. And I know for me it was perfection and not meeting up to what I felt was the standard that I had set for myself. But my standard was way too high and not realistic. And I think that's what you need to realize is it's you need to set some goals and understand you know what's right for you.
I think the hardest part about that, at least in my experience for people, is if they don't see immediate results, they just give up. And I, try to encourage people to go as slow as possible to try to maintain those results and that consistency. Um, I don't know if you have any thoughts around that, but it's so hard as a coach sometimes to encourage that, because people are like, oh no, it's like been a week, I should know, there should be some change.
Right. Yeah, I think it comes down to that's when the change occurs, when it's so slow, but it is so uncomfortable, right? Because
Mhm.
all these feelings are coming up and you don't know how to handle them. It's like you're just overwhelmed with everything at one time. So I think it's you really gotta find a support system, and you really gotta find people to talk to, like, you're as a coach. It's really making that connection, and realizing that you're not alone.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that's true. You need to look for a support system that's going to help you work through those things, definitely. Now, I know you've said a little bit about your family, and you struggle a little bit with your family to get them to eat healthy. I know a lot of my followers, they struggle with this every day. I even struggle with it with my boyfriend every single night.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband's not too much of the problem. He's usually on board with whatever I'll make, and he's up for trying things. When we first started dating, his diet was terrible, but he was always open-minded, so he wasn't the problem. But it is, I have two kids. I have my son who's 8 years old, and a daughter who will be, she's almost 7. He is my problem. And, I think being in this field and being a dietitian, here's perfect again, but you want your kids to eat perfectly, because if people see that your kids aren't eating perfectly, then why would they buy into what you have to
Yeah,
say?
for sure.
But the reality is I can't control what he wants to eat. I can provide the food for him, so I can provide him with good choices. Um, but it's really up to him whether he wants to eat those things or not. So I think that's been the biggest lesson for me, is just to continue providing healthy options for him, but not going overboard, and not saying, well, you can't have soda and at all, and you can't have dessert, and you can't have this, and you can't have that, because that's not creating a healthy environment for him. And I think the other thing that I've struggled with is kind of the clean plate club, because I grew up where you had to eat everything on your plate, and that I kind of feel like that didn't teach me, as I'm older, um, when I'm full. That didn't teach, I wasn't really in tune with my body, and kids are so in tune with their body. It's, living through society and, getting all these mixed messages, that they kind of become disconnected from that. So I'm trying to really pay attention to when they say they're done, they're done. And so he's my problem. But I think the one fun thing that we've started recently, actually my pediatrician recommended it, is for him to have like a list of vegetables, because vegetables are mostly the problem, and have him choose one vegetable each week that we'll prepare together, and he has to at least try one bite of it. And he was on board with that. So I think when you put it in their hands, it makes it a little bit easier. So
That makes sense. You're giving them the option and the choice, so they feel like they have a say more.
right, yeah. So we'll
Has
see
that
how it
been
goes.
successful? I mean,
Couple weeks in, it's going so good so far, but
has he liked anything?
he liked cauliflower mashed potatoes the other day, so that was good. Carrots did not pass the test.
Wow.
So
Carrots
yeah,
are pretty every day too. That's interesting.
I know. I don't know.
I'm not surprised by anything though. My boyfriend is so picky. He's like having a big child.
It's tough.
I mean, it's like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but it's up to
Right,
them to drink it.
right. And I love everything, so I totally don't connect.
I know it's so hard. And I know what you mean about like feeling like people are judging you if like the people around you aren't eating well.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure you can relate to this, but how many times do people say when you're out in like a social event, like, oh my gosh, I know I shouldn't be eating this in front of you.
Oh yes. Or they ask me, how are you eating that?
Right,
You don't understand the whole balance thing.
right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and it's sad.
It's hard because, like you said, our society has a lot of mixed messages and people are very confused and disconnected with their eating,
Right.
especially their intuition when it comes to eating. Most people don't know their natural hunger signals anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's so true.
So true. So, do you have any last tips that you want to give everybody that's watching this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just understanding that this is a journey and you have to find things that you enjoy doing. So you have to enjoy foods. You have to, foods that you like. So if you want, something sweet, go for it. You really just have to listen to your body. I think it's finding, people around you that you connect with and build you up, and make you happy, and finding movement that you love to do. So don't force yourself into doing anything that you don't want to do because it won't last. And really, the other tip I would have is don't feel like you need to deprive yourself because deprivation is never going to work. So, we have one life, we have to enjoy it. And that encompasses food, movement, everything. So
That's awesome. Awesome. So, where can people find you on Instagram, Facebook, your website?
Yep, I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, and it would be at The Well Crafted Life. And then my website is www.wellcrafted.life.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here with us today, Mandy.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.